Hello and welcome to the Intentional Brief, your weekly video update on the one big thing in cybersecurity news for middle market companies, their investors, and management teams. I'm your host, Shay Colson, managing partner at Intentional Cybersecurity, and you can find us online at intentionalcyber.com. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025, and it's time to have a somewhat frank discussion about AI as a threat vector inside your company. There has been a blitz of media coverage over the past week of AI-developed malware, based in large part by a report from Google Threat Intelligence. Dan Gooden over at ArsTechnica has a great write-up laying out why we might not need to be as concerned as the marketing teams would like us to believe. But before we get to his analysis, let's do a quick tour of the headlines and how we got here. Security researchers at the firm ESET reviewed one of the samples in Google's paper and called it, quote, the first AI-powered ransomware, unquote, and promptly gave it a clever name, prompt lock, no pun intended on my part. And ESET said in their press release that, quote, tools like prompt lock highlight a significant shift in the cyber threat landscape, unquote. But Gooden's reporting notes and makes clear that this is nothing new. The folks at ConnectWise have been working from this playbook since October 2024 and have leaned heavily on a 2024 report also from October from OpenAI about the threats that AI could pose. Pen testing and bug bounty firm BugCrowd also has a bit in this same time window with a report from their October 2024 marketing effort that notes what they call 12 months of AI innovation for hackers. It features phrases like, quote, whoa, in just a year, AI dramatically proved its value to hackers, and lists out something they're calling the, quote, 3 T's of AI hacking, unquote. But to come back to Gooden's reporting, he knows that the 5 malware families in Google were, quote, easy to detect even by less sophisticated endpoint protections that rely on static signatures. All samples also employed previously seen methods in malware samples, making them easy to counteract. They also had no operational impact, meaning they didn't require defenders to adopt new defenses. AI isn't making any scarier than normal malware, a researcher said. It's just helping malware authors do their job. Nothing novel. AI will surely get better, but when and by how much is anybody's guess, unquote. Indeed, it sounds like both there's nothing new here and nothing we need to do to really bolster our defenses yet. That may change, but for now, I think this is affirmation that the bigger risk or threat around AI is that your own people will use it without thinking about the privacy and security implications, and that you'll build a tremendous amount of shadow AI or security debt in a very short amount of time with limited visibility and controls, and that you on the security team will be left with a huge amount of both unknown and unknowable exposure from these tools. In fact, there was a bit from the BugCrowd report all the way at the bottom, all the way at the back that stood out more to me. They note that 93% of their survey respondents reported, quote, companies using AI tools have introduced a new attack vector for threat actors to exploit, unquote. So if you have been considering tools that will help you better manage these potential security risks around AI within your enterprise, now is the time to get those projects moving. This might be something simple like choosing Copilot over another provider and rolling it into your identity and other data controls. But it could also be something like deploying a CASB or moving more towards a zero trust architecture that gives you visibility and granular control around some of your user and data interactions with these various platforms. Regardless, just as those on the business side are working to make plans to leverage AI into their workflows, your security teams need to be working to make similar plans to help them leverage it securely in whatever form or fashion that takes from your risk tolerance and larger business context for your own organization. Because the hype cycles are already turned up to 11 on both the FUD side, fear, uncertainty, and doubt side for the security folks, and the ROI or profit enhancement or acceleration side for the executive teams. The truth, of course, is somewhere in the middle, but our job remains to keep us squarely between the lines as we continue to go down the road. From a fundraising perspective, we find ourselves with a relatively light week this week, turning in just over $6 billion in newly committed capital with no large fund announcements. I wouldn't see this as an indicator of anything in particular, just maybe a note that the macro uncertainty continues, especially here in the US with the ongoing government shutdown, and a potential indicator of a pretty material political swing if Tuesday's election results are extrapolated out into next year's midterms. In fact, the major indices here in the US all saw a loss last week, with the NASDAQ taking their hardest single week hit since April of 2025. A reminder that you can find links to all the articles we talked about in the comments section below. You can find back issues and written transcripts of these videos at intentionalcyber.com. And now sign up for our new monthly newsletter, The Intentional Dispatch, at intentionalcyber.com/newsletter. And we will see you next week for another edition of The Intentional Brief.